All right, welcome back, everybody. HSC Podcast 83. Got Big Box Steve on the mic and the Big Smooth. And no Fresh West tonight. So you got a two-man crew giving your picks and talking about the recap. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and like. Appreciate the watches. Don't forget to comment. If you're on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Anchor, thanks for listening. Feel free to also shoot us a comment. Anything you want to hear, we're happy to talk about. So let's get into our what is that? That was the week 6 recap. Talk about our week 7 predictions. Talk a little college football. We're going to talk a little bit about quarterbacks tonight. So we got a full agenda. But as always, let's start with college football. And college football week 7, the big game of the week, Ducks and Huskies. I watched the whole game. I don't know if you did.
Yep, I watched the whole game too. A lot of it from my phone, but yeah, I caught the
Yeah.
whole game.
It's a pretty crazy game. I think it's the first time they've both been in the top 10 when they played.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought they said that. Maybe
Okay,
wrong, but
yeah. I mean, I was thinking of that when Tyrone Willingham was really had the teams that were good. I think I didn't know if they coincided with like Dennis Dixon and stuff, but
when you look at rankings, you got two great quarterbacks battling and both potential Heisman contenders. And top in the rankings, this is really kind of, I think it was a season decider for both of them. I don't, what did you think of the game?
I think Oregon blew it. They had many opportunities that Lanning was too aggressive when he should have been playing it safe and cost him the game. I mean, he had 3 different decisions that would have ended up helping them win the game if he would have made them.
Right. I think the end of the half, it was a big one. Like you kick a field goal there, you get the ball back. Because that's not for me, when you go for it on fourth down in, the second half, and they went for it, and then they didn't get it. But then now you have Washington inside the 3 or whatever, right? And then they end up having to punt back to the 50, and then you score right after. For me, that's in the game flow, where at the end of the half, there's no game flow to that, right? The
Right.
decision is take the 3 points because now you have extra 3 points going into half, where you could almost attribute the 8 points they got from him going for it because it pinned them deep. They couldn't run their offense. They go 3 and out. They punt to the 50. You come back and score.
Right. Yeah, that one
So,
not as much, but yes, the end of the half and the end of the game. Those two
right.
were
Well, the end of the game, that's just stupid. You have to punt there. I don't see any scenario where not punting does you any good. I mean, obviously, yeah, maybe you get the first down, but it's too much risk right there because you punt it, you even if you kick it in the end zone, you got them on the 20. Now they have to go 80 yards, no timeouts, 2 minutes or less. That's a tough drive,
yeah.
right? At best, I think they probably get a field goal out of it, right? But they need a touchdown. So it's like
Right.
you're forcing them to go 80 yards to get that. You get field goal range. Now they're throwing probably from the 20 a couple shots at the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, they get the ball to 50. Now they scored 2 plays. And then to come back and miss the field goal, also, like, I mean, all of that is bad. And I don't know how you can't attribute the loss to Lanning.
Yeah, I mean, what like the fourth down go for it play, like that was what was that even? It's like
Right.
if you're doing I hate to see a fourth down play where it looks like ridiculous and stupid. You should have your best plays available on fourth
Right.
down.
Well, and you talked about this before. Multiple fourth downs, they're rolling, moving nicks out of the pocket, and you're cutting your field in half
Yeah.
because now you don't have that other side of the field to play with. And so
Yep, that
once you
was the
start,
fourth down in the
yeah,
end of the half. They
yeah,
did that. It's like
well,
on the goal line. I know that's like I hate that play more than anything is when they do that. I get when they do the Bill Walsh special that Gruden loved, where you play action fake and then the fullback goes out and you have the tight end over there in the drag area. But that's not even what they're doing. They're just doing a full rollout
right,
with
yeah,
like
it's just
no one
straight
there.
rollout, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're losing that half of the field, which again, I agree. I don't like that because, when he's rolling that way, he can't throw back across his body. So you're taking away that whole side of the field. And it kind of felt like that on the last fourth down too. It might have been a full rollout, but he was still moving that way.
Right.
And the defense now knows where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the play calling, probably not the greatest play calling either, but coaching wise, I think that was a struggle. I think that's where Dan Lanning kind of showed maybe playing that aggressive isn't always the best way to play. You should have played safe a little bit. So it was unfortunate for Oregon. They didn't drop a lot, but they need a lot of help now if they want to try to get to the
Right.
playoff and go there. So still a good game. Good game all around. I think Penix didn't play great, but he got beat up and still finished the game, which was impressive to watch.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I'm not as high on Penix as I was before, but I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, like top 10 draft pick anymore. I would say mid first round, but we'll see. See one more
yeah,
game.
yeah. You mean because there's a long season left, right? So
Yeah.
you see how it plays out. I was still impressed with his toughness because he took some shots
Yeah.
and he still finished the game. He still made two really good throws, late in the game to win it. Basically. So good game there. Obviously, the top five kind of rolled. USC though just looked horrible. Caleb Williams, three interceptions.
They went up against a real defense.
Yeah. I mean, and Notre Dame's played some tough games, so I think Notre Dame was more prepared for this game as far as their schedule than USC was to this point.
Well, and then, USC's got Utah next.
Right.
And you lose to Utah, you drop from 10 to 18. You lose to Utah, you might be out of the top 25 already. Go from 10 to out of the top 25 in 2 weeks.
And that's very good possibility because, Utah's defense is solid. And USC has proven that when when they play a tough defense, they don't do well.
Right.
So I don't think it was a big surprise. I think the amount they lost by was a surprise. I thought Notre Dame would probably win the game, but I didn't think they'd blow them out.
Yeah.
North Carolina pulls out another win. So now undefeated. They beat Miami, who a little bit of a slide, but good to see North Carolina up there. Drake May made some questionable throws, but still looking like probably a top pick. But I'd like to
Undefeated
see,
and not in the and you have teams with one loss ahead of them.
right. That's what's funny about it, right? uh, but you got to, I straight the schedule, things like that, of course. It's always going to come into play. But, if they hang around, they stay undefeated the whole time, they're going to be there.
Yep.
Like you can't not put them in there,
All right. Well, they got to play Florida State, right? So,
right? You win that game, you're in, right? Yeah, you beat Florida State, you're in.
Yeah.
Disappointing Louisville game. I thought that was a big loss for
Yeah.
them against not a very good Pitt team. Oregon State, I think, was pretty impressive against a fairly good UCLA team. Their season's going to be interesting to watch because they play a tough schedule. And if they win out and a couple other teams lose, they could be right there too.
Well, if they win out, those teams do lose.
Well, that's what I mean, and that puts them in a position to win a Pac-12 championship and possibly go to a playoff.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
Oregon State's not done. Oregon State still has a chance.
what they got, they got to have Washington and Oregon, I know.
Right. No, they got Washington and Oregon the last two games of the season.
Yeah, so they go Arizona, Colorado, Stanford, Washington, Oregon State. So they actually, I mean,
Listen,
the
if they
next
win
three
out,
are, yeah, the next three are pretty easy. It'll be the last two.
well, we're going to talk about Arizona for a second. So Arizona could easily have beat Washington. Threw the game away against USC. So back-to-back weeks could have beat top
Right.
10 teams. And then comes in and blows out Washington State. Not even
Right.
close. So I think Arizona is tougher than they get credit for. I mean, you imagine if they win the Washington and the USC game, which both games they're winning.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Yeah. So, but then to watch them just dominate Washington State, who I think is a pretty good team, but 44-6,
Yeah.
brutal. So I don't think anybody should take Arizona lightly. That's just not a team I want to play right now. Not a lot
It's
of
in
other.
Arizona.
What's that?
It's in Arizona too.
Oh yeah, right. Which that's good for Arizona usually.
Hmm.
Not a lot of great. Um, I mean, Pac-12 was really where I was at this week, right? Most of the other teams, top 25 at least, had fairly simple games, a lot of blowouts. Ohio State, Michigan, but so Bowers in Georgia leaves early in the game.
Yeah.
That could be, hindrance for them. I don't know what the medical prognosis is yet. But
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
the guy you don't want injured.
right. Well, he's having surgery for a high ankle sprain. Let's see if it says.
I mean, the
Four to
reality is,
six weeks.
geez, I mean, because Georgia hasn't looked that good anyway.
Right.
So I think, with that injury, you got to look at Michigan as the number one team right now.
Well, we'll find out this week too, because you got Penn State, Ohio State, right?
Yeah, yeah. So jumping into week 8, obviously Penn State, Ohio State, that's a huge game because you got three top 10 Big Ten teams right now,
Right.
top seven, really, because Penn State's seven. But yeah, Penn State going into Ohio State. I think that's a winnable game for Penn State.
Yeah.
Not super impressed with Ohio State. Obviously, Marvin Harris Jr. is great, but McCord's not my favorite quarterback they've ever had. And their defense is okay. Like they're not great, they're not bad. So I mean, obviously 7-3 playing is an interesting game, but obviously most interesting game of the week.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because whoever wins that vaults themselves up into the conversation. If Ohio
Yeah.
State wins, then it's like, okay, we're getting the Ohio State Michigan. If Penn State wins, then you're like, oh man,
Well, because does Penn State even play Michigan this year?
yeah, they're all in the same conference. They're all in the
Let's
same
see.
division.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what's
so
so weird is that division is so
that
stacked.
stacked. Yeah, so they got Michigan in 3 weeks after this game. So yeah, it's going to come out to how they all play each other.
Yeah. So Michigan plays Penn State on November 11th, and then oh yeah. Oh,
Ohio
okay. So
State,
then they get a week in between.
yeah, they got Maryland and then
Oh,
then Ohio State. But leave it up to Michigan to like lose this week to Michigan State.
right.
But I mean, I think honestly, it comes down to how those three teams play each other, right?
Yeah, they all could each beat
Right,
each,
split. That wouldn't surprise me either. Oregon, I'm gonna Washington State, not an easy game. Alabama, Tennessee, that's an interesting game. Both, 5-1 and 6-1. Not super impressed with Alabama, but the
they
better
keep
Milroe
winning.
plays, the better they look. It's
Right.
'cause it's Alabama. They have all these great players. Their weak spot has been quarterback this year, and he's starting to play better.
Right. And if they win out,
Right, they're right there. So Alabama obviously still a force. Texas, even with the loss, still didn't drop that far, so they're up there.
yep.
Duke, Florida State, that should be an interesting game.
Yeah, I want to know if Leonard is playing though, because he didn't play last week.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm not super impressed with Florida State, but yeah, I think it really comes down to. I mean, Duke probably cannot win this game without Leonard for sure.
Let's see here. Well, it looks like he's going to play. He's day to day, but the head coach smirked when he said that. So,
But watching was that Duke Notre Dame?
yeah.
That yeah, it was Duke Notre Dame, right?
Yeah,
Duke
yeah,
played really solid in that game. Like they looked pretty good. So I don't think that's an easy game at all for Florida State. But you were talking about this earlier, the Utah USC. Yeah, USC is dropped now to 18th. And now you go play number 14, Utah. Could we see USC out of the top 25 this week?
I mean, it could happen. It happened last year. Remember?
Yeah.
Everything was like, ooh, look at how great USC is. And then the end of the season, they just fell off a cliff. Caleb Williams still won them Heisman, but their team was they had no defense. Oh, wait, that's the same this year.
Well, it's funny if you look at Daniels out at LSU. I mean, this dude's got 2,200 yards passing, 2,300 almost, 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Caleb Williams only has 2,000 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
You know, well,
So,
the thing is, LSU has 2 losses already.
oh, I'm just talking Heisman though.
I know, but they look at that from the Heisman.
Right.
That's why you got to look at Penix right now. I mean, he went and beat Oregon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the big on the resume. Daniels didn't beat the big teams he was supposed to beat. Caleb Williams lost to a team they should have won.
I also don't think they love to give out that back to back.
Well, yeah.
I think they might look for reasons like that to say, hey, USC dropped out of the top 25 or lost 2 games.
Well,
Let's
yeah,
look
because
at
I think like what is it? Just Archie Griffin, right?
right.
Because I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure if I look, I think Tebow's stats were better his second.
yeah. Well, I think that's probably your last like legitimate chance, right? I think that was probably the most feasible to take that double Heisman. Probably should have.
Yeah, he came
Penn
in. He came in third to Sam Bradford and Colt McCoy.
Colt McCoy.
I
Come
mean,
on.
but he had the most, or was it his? So, okay, so yeah, he won his sophomore year. Must have. Yeah, and then he had more first place votes than either Bradford or McCoy, but Bradford had more second place votes. It was the whole, lots of people hated Tebow type of thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he had 309 first place votes, 207 second, and 234 third. And so that's why
Yeah.
Bradford won.
I don't know how. Yeah, he should have won that. Let's see. Arizona State, Washington, UCLA, Stanford. Kind of rounds out the top 25 there. Air Force, though, coming in at 6-0. Ranked 22.
Yeah.
Look at that. So big week here. I think Tennessee Alabama game has a lot of, you know, that's going to change the way things happen if Alabama doesn't win. I think the Penn State Ohio State obviously is a huge game. We could see USC struggle here. So still some good games to watch.
I hate to get on a tangent here, but going back to Tebow here, because I get irritated when people are, yes, he was a horrible pro. But when people are like, well, I like Cam Newton as a better college quarter, and I'm like,
Yeah,
dude, Tebow had 32 passing touchdowns and 23 rushing touchdowns in one season.
right.
He had
That's crazy. And
55 touchdowns.
I don't know that Tebow was a horrible pro.
I mean, he won a playoff game. That's more than a lot
Right.
of quarterbacks have done. But
Yeah, obviously Cam Newton was better, I think, as a pro than Tebow.
right.
Like if you're making that comparison, but I don't think Tebow was a horrible pro. I think it was a bad time for him because he'd be a pretty good quarterback in today's NFL.
Yeah. His accuracy is a little bit off, but yeah, I mean,
Oh, but running RPOs, and
yeah.
the fact that you have to think about run first, almost, it throws defenses off, and you're seeing that more and more. So he was just a little bit ahead of his time.
Another one would have been I thought would have been great was Terrell Pryor.
Oh yeah, yeah, Terrell Pryor. Well, I mean, let's just go back to Tommy Frazier.
Yeah.
Now, Terrell Pryor, though, he could throw the ball pretty well. Didn't he come in and play wide receiver for a while?
Yeah. Well, he started with the Raiders as a quarterback, and then he transitioned to receiver, and he had one good year with the Browns, and then he just kind of fell off.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he did have
Yeah,
100-yard or 1,000-yard receiving year.
right. Yeah, he did. I mean, he's just a good athlete, like just top bottom. It's hard to find guys like that.
Right. And he had a 99-yard, I think 99-yard rushing touchdown for the Raiders. Oh, 93 yards.
93
Longest
yards.
touchdown by a quarterback in NFL history.
Nice. There's a trivia stat for you. All right, so college getting exciting. At this point right now, you got to pick. You got to pick the champ. Pick a champ. Who's winning it?
Hmm. It's hard because I still don't know about Georgia. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And Michigan, both of them aren't battle tested at all. Um, but if I'm just gonna pick, and this is more like, well, who's been more impressive? I would take Michigan. But I don't know if they played each other if Michigan could beat Ohio State. I mean, beat Georgia.
Georgia. Well, I mean, obviously, if they both win, they have to
Yeah.
play at some point. Um, that's tough.
It's hard because you still need a lot of teams haven't even played good teams yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Michigan too. I know they haven't played a lot of great teams, but just watching them, I think their defense has improved, looks better, and I think their quarterback's a little bit more, seasoned. I mean, when you look at the top, I obviously Penix is probably the most seasoned of the top five,
Mhm.
but
And
I
Bo
think
Nix.
JJ's right there. Well, but they're not top five, and they're top
Yeah.
10. I'm just looking at top five right now and just saying, what quarterback am I going to ride? And Washington, to be honest with you, I don't think their defense will hold up against a Georgia, Michigan, or Florida State even.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. How about Jordan Travis, right? Or is he even playing? Is he hurt? No, he's playing. Okay. But is hurt?
Yeah, I mean he's been, you know, hit it miss all year. He's only got 1,500 yards.
Right.
Good, good touchdowns, for how much he's played, but they actually don't have a tough schedule to finish. But they'll obviously the ACC championship.
Right.
If they both win out, that's going to be the decider there.
Yeah, but he's been
So,
around since 2018. So he's
yeah. Well, yeah, I guess when you're talking about age,
him and well, Penix is what 22, 23.
yeah. Well, and Bo Nix has played what 53 games or something like that, 52 games.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
another reason when we talk about NFL draft. That's why I'm like, I don't know about Nix and Penix. They're like 22, 23. Do I really want to?
I'm, Nix just doesn't have it for me for a pro quarterback. Doesn't have the arm strength. I mean, he can't really throw that deep dig, those deep outs.
Right.
He's not a second level thrower either. He's not putting it over top of the linebackers and underneath the DBs. And you have to do that in the NFL. So I think Bo Nix is just a really good college quarterback. And that's how he'll be remembered. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. So I'm gonna roll with Michigan as well. So we'll get our early predictions in there. See how that changes as we go forward. All right, let's jump to NFL. A little recap here. Week 6, and what a week it was. So rough week for all of us, but You finished 8-7. I was 9-6. Wes takes the lead at 10-5. So Wes now has a 1 game lead. You're right behind him, 1 game back, and I'm 2 games back. So we're all within 2 games now. But to be honest, like a little better record than it seems like with given what's happening in the NFL right now.
It's kind of ridiculous, actually.
But still, Wes is at 58-35. Or no, I mean 59-34. You're at 58-35. So, I mean, that's still pretty good I think, considering what's been happening in the NFL right now. Because it seems like kind of a crapshoot sometimes, especially this week.
Yeah.
Because let's start with the obvious. 49ers losing to the Browns
With a backup
with
quarterback
with
in.
their third string quarterback.
Right.
But they had some injuries, that it's tough to lose CMC and Debo same game.
It's almost like Brock Purdy was playing on the Patriots.
Right. He didn't have anybody to throw the ball to. But I mean, the reality though was he drove them down, put them a chance to win, and they
Yeah.
just missed the field goal. So
Well, and the reality is too, they had Ayuk and Kittle still.
yeah,
I mean,
and Kittle just didn't do anything.
right. Well, Purdy, did he even have 100 yards?
He was right there. It was definitely, I think, his worst game as a pro.
Yeah, I think he on the last drive he started to actually play like he normally does. But yeah, before that it was like, oh gosh, he's got like 60 yards this game.
Yeah, he finished with 126. He didn't look great for sure. He missed a couple throws where you looked at them and said, that's a a late round
Mhm.
quarterback draft. Um, their line didn't play like they usually play. Overall, the injuries hurt them, but they definitely did not look. They looked a little flat as a team.
Right. They took him for granted.
Right. Like that's so I think this happens in football where you've won games pretty easily and then you come in against a team and let's give Cleveland some credit because they are the number one rated defense, right?
Right.
So it's not like this is a lay down win.
Well, if you're a Niners player, you probably are like, oh, we just destroyed the Cowboys. So
Yeah,
this is nothing.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like they probably came in without the intensity that they should have, had. But Cleveland's defense played well. Their offense did not play well, but their defense kept them in the game. They when they got the ball in position to score, they kicked a lot of field goals.
Right.
And like we said earlier, sometimes you just got to take the points.
That's right.
And I think that's what Cleveland did. And that was a tough loss for the Niners. I think they probably learned a lot there. Learned a little bit about their team and Purdy in particular. What I think is unfortunate is he's going to now take a lot of flack.
Right.
But funny is if they kick the field goal and win, he doesn't take as much.
Right. But now you got the whole narrative of like, oh, see, Mac Jones.
Yeah. Well, and again, like I said, like it really is on the kicker at that point because that's not a hard kick.
No. And they what was he, like a second rounder or a third rounder? What was
Yeah. Yeah, Moody, he was a pretty high draft pick because they were replacing Robbie Gold, right?
right? Robbie Gold doesn't miss that.
No, not at all. No way. So,
Bears fans know about getting rid of Robbie Gold and trying to
oh,
replace him.
worst. Yeah, like you get rid of your best kicker ever. I mean, come on. I mean, I know Kevin Butler was good, but he was no Robbie Gold.
Nope.
So that was a tough one. But then you get now you later in the day, Now you have the Jets come out and beat the Eagles, so we lose both the undefeated teams.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, the Eagles have not been impressive this year. So I'm not sure. I mean, what's your take on what's happening with the Eagles? I mean, it's hard to say a 5-1 team's not impressive, but
Well, they lost both their offensive defensive coordinator. They're both head coaches now,
right,
in Steichen and Gannon. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, they lost. What was it? They lost Hargrave, Epps. They lost like five. I saw a thing was like five defensive players also. That's a problem when you're good. Coaches leave, and then players go for better paydays. Role players, go for better paydays. You know what I mean? Oh, Chance Gardner.
right, right,
He's
right.
so,
Is that Detroit now?
yeah,
But they still have. I mean, their secondary isn't as strong as it could be, but their front seven is brutal.
right.
But you look at games like the Commanders, right? Like you barely beat the Commanders, you barely beat the Vikings, you barely beat the Patriots.
Right. The Patriots one is kind of a misnomer because that was like Belichick had all offseason to
Yeah,
plan for that.
and
Also, the Eagles were without Jalen Carter, and then one other defensive player. They had two starters out also. And Carter's been what the best defensive tackle this
oh
season.
yeah, yeah, he's rated right up there. I think most quarterback pressures, right?
Hmm.
But here's the thing for the Eagles, right? You played the Patriots, the Vikings, the Bucks, the Commanders, and the Rams and the Jets,
Yeah.
right? And none of them were impressive victories. And now you got Dolphins, Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, 49ers.
Yeah, we'll find out if they're real or not.
Right. So that's, I mean, yeah, Commanders sprinkled in there, but then you got Cowboys again. So their next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, all but the Commanders are tough games because you got Cowboys twice, Bills, 49ers, Chiefs, and Dolphins.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
your first place schedule right there.
you're really gonna find out what the Eagles are all about here the next
Yeah.
7 games. And to be honest with you, if you don't play better than you've been playing to this point, you're gonna lose a good portion of those
Oh
games.
yeah, especially this week going up against the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's not an easy game for anybody.
They're the only. So that was the other thing. Like the stats were showing that only three teams scored over like 25 points this last weekend too.
Right. Yeah, Miami, Jacksonville, and the Rams at 26.
But didn't like Mike
So
put up like 40.
42. But they're playing Carolina. Let's be real there.
And they spotted Carolina 14 points.
I think you could spot Carolina more than that, still win. So that was interesting. You see that obviously Miami comes back, scores a lot. Um, Kansas City wins, doesn't look great against Denver. Buffalo wins, doesn't look great against the Giants. So
Mhm.
this is kind of what I was talking about this week and in the NFL up to this point in general. Even the teams when these teams win, they're not winning by a lot. They're not looking great in these wins. And it's almost like anybody could win, right?
Yep. I mean, that's what the NFL wants is parity.
Yeah. And then Houston beats New Orleans.
Yeah.
That I think that's a big win for Houston. Washington beats Atlanta. What other games are out there? The Rams, man, Cooper Cup coming back.
Stupid Cooper Cup.
They're looking pretty tough. And then Dallas and the Chargers, like
Hmm.
know that Dallas should have won that game,
Well, good old
but
Brandon Staley costing his team another game.
what a horrible coach. So I mean, so week 6, God, it was just like it could have went either way with a lot of these games, and it did go ways that I mean, this is just a horrible record for us, But how do you pick Cleveland over San Francisco? How do you pick the Jets over Philly?
Right.
You know,
Yeah, it was a weird week. It's usually every week you got some gimme games. Our gimme games gave us losses.
right? That's what I mean. That's you know, I think I had a couple picks where I stretched a little bit for sure. Like I picked Tennessee, and I knew Tennessee's just not good, but Baltimore hadn't been playing great. So I mean, that's kind of a
Right.
giveaway game. But yeah, the gimme games, even the ones that we won on the gimme games, like Buffalo, the Giants, still came down to the last play of the
Right.
game. So it wasn't easy. Uh, before we jump into week 7, you know, let's talk about this Dallas Chargers game. And because I know you want to talk about Herbert, it's obvious. I mean, if you watch that game, how many throws he missed.
Yeah, he was off on a lot. He had Keenan Allen open so many times.
Oh yeah, and just overthrows, blatant wide open overthrows.
And it was funny,
How
I mentioned this last night watching the game. All and then good, listening to talk shows this morning. You know what they talked about? They're like, if Justin Herbert was on a New York team or, a high publicized public team, he would be getting crucified right now.
right, right, right.
But since he's on the Chargers and they have to, you know, make actors pretend to be fans in the stands or have like mechanical robots in the stands, no one cares because they have no fans.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I know that's a big narrative of, the Chargers coming to LA, and they just really don't have the fan base.
Well, you heard I mean, there seem to be a lot more Cowboy fans than Charger fans.
Oh, there's tons, but
It's
you're not
Cowboy.
that far from Dallas, and it's the Cowboys, right? So that's to be expected. It's like Green Bay. You're not going to go to a Green Bay game and not get tons of. Doesn't matter where you're at.
So
It could be
here's
Green Bay, Seattle, and there's still tons of Green Bay fans there.
so here's my one big stat about Herbert because he puts up the numbers. He does.
Right,
But we can always blame Brandon Staley, but he doesn't win games. He made the playoffs once. He has thrown 13 interceptions in the fourth quarter of one score games since
right.
2020. 3 years, 13 interceptions.
Well, and he has the most total fourth quarter receptions since 20, or tied for the most
Yeah.
at 16, right?
Right. But this is one score game,
Right. Yeah.
13 interceptions.
You're talking about when it's a close game.
Yeah.
Even overall, he's got the most interceptions in the fourth quarter. So yeah, I mean that speaks to that clutch factor, right? Is he the guy that's going to win games for you when it matters, right?
Well, and I feel like if he gets pressured, he buckles. Because if you look at that game against Dallas, the same exact thing happened in week 1 against the Dolphins.
Right.
Fourth quarter, going to drive, all of a sudden he got pressured and he just crumbled.
I don't think it's just the fourth quarter though. There was plenty of times early in the game where he was pressured that he missed reads,
Right.
and not just the throw. Like he missed a read. That's different, right? Like when you have a guy running maybe a 15-yard out, and you got have a guy running like a crossing route, and the crossing route's wide open. He gets pressure and he just throws the deep out over the guy's head.
Right.
Where you could have, even with that pressure, just lofted a crossing route, and let the guy run underneath it, even with pressure.
Right. See, that's the thing is, I think when he came out, everyone was thinking he was the next Mahomes because he did. He had like, you know how Mahomes is like, you think you got him sacked, and then he just like
Right.
whoop, and then he gets out. Neither runs for 20 yards, which you don't think of Mahomes running, or he like scrambles and throws a. And Herbert looked like that in some plays, but now he kind of just looks like Kirk Cousins. He he has lots of yards and he throws the ball nice, but he doesn't win.
But he misses a lot of throws though,
Yeah.
which arm strength wise, I don't know that anybody can throw a deep out or a dig like he can. His arm strength is ridiculous. And he throws it on a rope.
Right.
The problem is it could be 5 yards short or 10 yards far. You know, I think that's really what his problem is his accuracy and his accuracy under pressure. And that's probably why you could make the argument right now that he is not, one of the top quarterbacks. But
No, I mean,
statistically, he is.
right. But if I'm looking at it, you got Mahomes, of course. You got to put Tua on there, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, even last year Tua was having an MVP season until he got
Right.
hurt.
Um, Goff,
This year, yeah, I would say right now, if you're rating him, Goff's up there.
and then it's like, well, Burrow's not having a good season. He's starting. It looks like he's starting to turn it around, and that could be because of injury.
Right, right.
And then I would say Purdy, right?
I mean, you want to say that, but it depends on what your factors are, I guess, right? Because you got to
Yeah.
think about all this stuff. So when you think about like yards, Mahomes isn't up there with the top five in yards, but he's up there with wins and he's up there with the making the right decisions and the hardest guy to sack and things like that.
Well, yeah, I forgot. Josh Allen would probably be
Right. But Josh Allen is like that guy that will come in and just not show up for a game.
right. I mean, he did that in the week one
But
against the
you've
Jets.
seen that from him before, though. It's not the
Yeah.
first time. It's definitely not the first time you've ever seen that from Josh Allen. But I get what
Um,
you're saying. Like if I'm starting my franchise, who am I taking? Right? Because statistics don't always mean everything. Because statistically, Kirk Cousins, you know, has good statistics.
yeah.
Uh, CJ Stroud,
Right.
when a rookie plays like that, you got to think long term for that too, right?
Mhm.
It's not just for the now because he has nothing behind it, but that really looks good for his future.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I thought, oh, he's going up against the Saints defense. We'll see. And then he carved him up.
Yeah, I mean, and then even Stafford having a good season again.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if I'm taking top five, there's other factors I'm thinking out, right? What do you think about? You're thinking about, the ability to win games, the ability to get out of sacks, make good reads. So it's not always just stats.
Right.
And so obvious. I mean, I don't know. It's obvious, but for me, Mahomes is number one. Yeah, I don't know that you can argue that. But who's number two?
Right now, it's Tua.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, last year before he got the concussions, he was doing the same thing. So that's
Right,
2 years in a row that he was MVP caliber.
right. I mean, yeah, you can't. But statistically, obviously, it's really hard to argue. But you also have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle.
Well, Mahomes had Tyreek Hill and
Yeah,
Kelsey, so we didn't
yeah,
stop think about how great Mahomes has been, right?
and he got his Super Bowls too. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could go with Tua. I could go with Tua right now at number two. I think Goff is a good argument for number three, but I think Allen's also a good argument for number
Yeah.
three. So I think you could probably interchange them at three and four.
And Jamison Williams is back now, so that's going to whole other dynamic to that
Oh yeah,
offense.
for sure. I think he'll just progress as the season goes. Yeah, so you got three, four there between them two, could go either way. I mean, can you put Herbert in there at five? Like who slips in there at five? You got Jalen Hurts, you got Herbert, you got Stroud, you got Stafford, Lamar,
Burrow.
Burrow. Yeah, I mean I think that's a yeah,
Well, even
that
like if you got to think about it, I mean, uh Herbert is what? They're 2-3,
right. Yeah, they're two and two. They lost, so two and three.
and look at the other quarterbacks we named. All have better records than that.
Yeah. Yeah, because record does matter, right?
Well, and CJ Stroud, does he have a Keenan Allen?
No, but what's his name's playing really good.
Tank Dell or
No, the other dude.
Nico Collins?
Yeah, Nico Collins. Yeah, he's playing pretty well. And Dalton Schultz
Yeah.
was a great addition for them. But yeah, I mean, I think five's tough. I think yeah, you could make a good argument for Herbert not being there right now.
Well, hate to say this too, but right now isn't Dak better than Herbert?
I don't know if I could ever pick Dak.
I know, but right now, I mean,
Yeah.
he went down
Uh,
and scored,
he surprisingly threw a couple really good balls on Monday night.
and that fourth
That
that fourth down call was money.
the Brandon Cooks throw
Oh yeah, that was
because he's backing up, backpedaling, throwing it out to the left in front of him. That was impressive. Like I gotta give him some props for that throw. That's tough. But he also missed a couple throws too. So it's Dak's a little too inconsistent, I think, for me. And which was also I can make that argument for Herbert, right? Just the
right.
inconsistency. I mean, that's where I could say a healthy Stafford is probably still right there.
Well, and you know what? Let's see what Hertz does against the Dolphins, right?
Yeah. But their defense isn't great.
Or
I
what
think
Herbert does against the Chiefs.
right. I think the hurts will come down to the Bills, the 49ers, and the Dallas. Like how
Right.
he performs there, I think will be a telltale sign for Herbert. Or not for Herbert, for Hurts. So yeah, I think number five right now, currently, I'm gonna put Stafford there.
I'm going to put because I believe injury caused everything early and he's finally healthy. I'm going to go Burrow because Burrow's looked different the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, it is hard not to put Burrow there too. But yeah, we'll see how he finishes the season.
Right.
Because I mean, I mean, he's good. I could say, by week seven, he could be right there. He could be 3 or 4.
Well, I think they're on their bye though, so we'll be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so he put. Well, I guess he didn't have a really good game against Seattle, but
So Tyreek Hill for a second, 814 yards. Like what how does that project him? Oh yeah, this is what I'm looking.
to break.
2,300 yards. So he's projected for 2,300 yards at this point. That's crazy. I mean that doesn't just break the record, right?
Yeah, it just shatters it, right?
Yeah, that like shatters the record. He's been impressive.
Well, I
It's
was looking
also
up though. What is touchdowns in a season record?
no, it's like oh for a receiver is different than total.
Well, I'm talking running back.
Well, LaDainian Tomlinson, what didn't he have like 30, 29?
Because Mozart's at 9.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure LaDainian Tomlinson, because he it was catching too, but I think he had around 28, 29. Let's take a look at this.
31
31. Holy crap.
for Tomlinson.
Oh yeah, so Tomlinson had 28 in 2006. But who has 31?
No, Tomlinson has 31. He had 3 receiving touchdowns also.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So 28 and 3. I see. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So 31
Most
total.
total touchdowns in a season of 31.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Sean Alexander and then Priest Holmes were right.
Yeah, because they had mostly rushing touchdowns. I think
Yeah.
Alexander had like 27 or something like that.
Yeah, he had 1 receiving touchdown and 27 rushing. Priest
Right.
Holmes, which is weird, had all rushing. And then Marshall Falk had 18 and 8. So yeah.
The other stat that I was looking at that I thought was crazy was A Chain, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately goes to IR, but you, you know who he's averaging per rush?
It's like 11 yards, wasn't it? 11 point.
12, 12 yards per rush, dude. That's just nuts. When have you ever seen that? With significant amount of carries.
Yeah.
With 38 carries, he's still third in the league in rushing yards at 460, averaging 12 yards a rush, dude. That's
Right.
crazy.
Well, and that's the thing is, and then Mozart, yeah, is
Yeah,
on
I
pace
mean,
to get 27 touchdowns.
right. Yeah, yeah. So he and still his rushing's not terrible considering he's
No.
splitting time.
I think he's averaging like 6 yards a carry.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. You listen to the mad scientist. He's like, my goal is to break the yardage, total yardage in a season record. It's like that's been our goal since training camp. Which they look like they could do it. I
Yeah, I mean,
mean, they've scored like their worst game was 24. They scored 70, obviously, but it's like 48 against, or no, 20 against the Bills, 31, 42, 36. I mean, that's a pretty high points per game.
so was it the Broncos? Wasn't that the highest?
Yeah, well, yeah, they scored 70 against the Broncos,
No,
obviously.
I mean in a season when Peyton Manning was with the Broncos.
Oh, yeah. The Broncos had the most yardage because Peyton threw for like 5,000 yards.
Mm-hmm. And then Seattle beat them in the Super Bowl.
Right. And Mosier's got 429 yards. That's 6 yards almost a carry. And two is thrown for 1,800 yards at 300 yards a game. It's crazy.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, some fun stats there. So let's get into this. Let's get into our picks here. We hit back to the schedule. Man, was this
Some tough
really week
games.
7?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Why does the season go so fast?
I don't know.
All right, let me pull up my games here. Okay, so Jacksonville at New Orleans, right up front with a tough game.
Mm-hmm.
Problem here is Jacksonville's playing better right now, I think, but New Orleans is at home, and New Orleans plays well at home. So go with New Orleans. I think in a very close game, taking New Orleans by a field goal.
I'm that's exactly the same exact reasoning I had. I got the Saints winning this because they're at home. Their defense will play better, I think. They just play better at home. But we got a swing game.
Yeah,
Wes
because
is Wes is
Wes
picking the Jags.
Wes has got the Jags. So this is a swing game because Wes is in the lead. So if he wins that, that helps him extend. Raiders, Bears. Wes has got the Raiders. What do you got?
Looks like Bangent is going to be starting against Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, Jesus.
Um, O'Connell looked okay. I just think it's weird to me. I hate saying this, but the Raiders, if they had a better head coach, could easily be 5-1.
Yeah.
I mean, and they've won 2 games despite Josh McDaniels doing stupid stuff. But I can't trust the Bears.
Oh, not with Pageant starting.
No. So I got to take the Raiders in this one. It's like they're going to beat all the bad teams and then get killed by all the good
Yeah.
teams. That's what the Raiders are going to do.
I think I don't see how the Bears could win this game. The matchups aren't good for them on both sides of the ball. And I mean, the weapon you don't use is gone. So it doesn't even matter. You're not using them anyway, but
And the weird thing is it's the Raiders defense that has come to play. The
mhm.
last 3 quarterbacks they faced have not had over 200 yards passing. And that includes Justin Herbert.
I will tell you, I mean, so again, Bears should have won last week, right? Pageant fumbles, throws an interception.
Yeah.
They should beat Denver. They should be 3-3. I mean, the reality is that again, it's those one little moments that change your
Right.
record. Pageant didn't look horrible, but again, I think they're outmatched, especially on defense. So, I mean, I have to take the Raiders here, even in Chicago. I got them by a touchdown.
Raiders
Uh,
don't score that many points, though, Steve.
yeah, only 17 a game.
Only scored over 21 or scored over 20 once because Max Crosby got him a safety.
Cleveland at Indianapolis. Wes has got the Browns. I also have the Browns. I mean, maybe it's just wishful thinking that their defense is going to show up again, but it's still Indianapolis. You still have no quarterback, so you're not running with Anthony Richardson. And I guess I don't trust Indianapolis, so I'm going to take the defense in this one. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
going with
going with the Browns
Cleveland.
too. Although, here's an interesting stat. And then Dallas proved it wrong this last week. But before Dallas's win, teams after playing the 49ers were 2-18.
Oh, jeez,
But
not it's not good for the Cleveland Browns.
it's just hard to trust the Colts. So
But Jonathan Taylor's back.
that's true. And it's at home.
Yeah, but I mean their rush defense is solid though. So
Yeah. It's
yeah,
probably a loss for us, but we're all taking the Browns.
I gotta go with the Browns here. Let's see. Wes has got the Bills. I mean, I don't know how you pick New England even at New England against any team, but the Bills, I think, bounce back a little bit here. I'm definitely taking the Bills. I think they win by 10 or more.
Yeah, it's weird. It's only a 9-point spread, which seems weird to me because I think the Patriots are probably the worst team in the NFL right now.
Have to
Maybe I
be.
get second worst. Panthers are the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, Patriots don't look good. I got the Bills. Of course, this is another one where the Bills are just play like crap.
Yeah, Buffalo is not been impressive either. Gotta admit that. Uh Probably one of the harder games of the week. Washington at New York, the Giants. Wes has got the Giants. It's in New York. What do you got?
I'm taking the Giants too. Tyrod Taylor's not bad. And Saquon Barkley's back, and he was looking pretty good.
Right.
I don't trust Howell. I don't trust Sam Howell.
Yeah.
So then it's in New York, so I'm taking the Giants.
I think the Commanders are a little up and down. I think the Giants are starting to mesh a little bit more, even not maybe it's not at the quarterback position, but I think at other parts, maybe outside the offensive line. But their defense didn't look terrible. And it's in New York, so I'm definitely taking the Giants as well. But in a close game. I got the Giants by 3. Atlanta, Tampa Bay, another tough game. See what Mr. Leader West has to say. He's got the Falcons on the road.
He's
Okay.
blinded by Bijan on his fantasy team, I think.
Yeah. That's a tough one because I got the Bucks. I think at home, I don't think Atlanta's great on the road, and I don't think they're great anyway. Uh, and the Bucks haven't been playing terrible. They had a rough game last week, but going home, playing Atlanta, who's not a super powerful offense, I think gives them some confidence. So, I mean, I got to take the Bucks here. I got the Bucks by 7.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bucks too. They're favored by 2.5. I think they win by a field goal. Uh, can we really trust Ritter at all? I mean, he looked horrible
Yeah.
last
I mean, he's looked horrible like
a lot.
most of the games, and even the games they won, he didn't look good till the fourth quarter.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. You can't trust him at all. So another swing game there.
West could get a big lead on
Dude,
us.
yeah, we see ones like he's jumping out there. Jeez, man, so many tough games this week. So the Lions at Baltimore. Wes has got the Lions. What do you got here?
My two teams that, I ride and die with here,
Right.
but I'm going bandwagon's fully set in with the Lions. I just love Dan Campbell. I think the Lions, even though they don't have Montgomery, I still think know how to run the ball. Now they got Jamison Williams back, so I got to take the Lions here, win by a touchdown.
Yeah, I think weather provided Goff opens up a little bit in the passing game this week. And even though Baltimore has a solid secondary, I don't know that they can keep up with the Lions offense. So I also would take the Lions by a touchdown. Pittsburgh got the Rams. Here we go again. Wes has got the Rams. I also have the Rams here at home. I still don't fully trust Pittsburgh. And the Rams, I think, are playing pretty good football. Like I said before, I think Stafford is throwing the ball well. I think when you bring Cooper Cup back, you add a whole different dimension to the offense and to Stafford. His comfort level goes through the roof. So I'm going to take the Rams here by 10. I think they handily win this.
We got a swing game.
Pittsburgh on the road, huh?
Well, I just look at and I just the Bengals Rams game where Hubbard and the defensive line of the Bengals just wrecked the Rams. And that defensive line is nowhere as good as the front seven of the Steelers.
Right.
Highsmith and Watt are going to have huge games, and Stafford's not going to have time to get it to Cup. So that's why I got. The only problem is Pickett going to score? I don't know, but
Right.
I'm taking the Steelers here in the upset.
They have to score too.
Right. Well, and
Yeah.
it's not really like it's in LA, but there will be more Steelers fans than Rams fans.
Yeah. Well, there's just not a lot of Los Angeles football fans right now. Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't. I agree with the pressure, and I think Pittsburgh's solid there, especially on the defensive line. Um, but Stafford's a veteran, dude. Like he's gonna get the ball out, right?
Yeah.
That's what you do as a veteran.
And he didn't against the Bengals.
Yeah,
Got
you
sacked
would
a
think.
bunch.
You would think, but he didn't have Cooper Cup.
He has Puka Nakua, and Tutu Atwell, so
Right.
he didn't
And
need
then
Cup.
now throw in Cup on top of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That's a big swing game. You need that one. You need that one. Seattle at Arizona. I mean, Wes has got Seattle. I got Seattle. You got Seattle.
Yeah. I mean, it's Seattle at home and it's against the Cardinals, so you have to take Seattle.
Yeah. I mean, I got it by 9, but it could be more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though Seattle took a tough loss to Cincinnati, there's no way they lose to Arizona, right?
Can't say no way.
Well, not this year. Jeez. Here's an interesting game. Green Bay at Denver. Wes has Green Bay. What do you got?
This one was actually, weirdly enough, the toughest game for me.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm switching. I'm going back.
So
I'm taking the Broncos. They're at home. Green Bay just doesn't. I don't know what Jordan Love is on the road, and you're going up to Mile High, which is a
right,
totally different road game. So I'm going to take the Broncos to win by 3 because Russell Wilson isn't playing horrible.
right.
Except last week, he looked horrible.
The Broncos are just so hit and miss. Um, I went back and forth with this for a long time, trying to think. I think it came down to the same thing what you said, which is it's in Mile High. I also believe that this is a must win for Sean Payton because you lose this game in Denver against not a very good Green Bay team, you might
Mm.
get fired.
No, he's going to use Russell as a scapegoat, get rid of him, and get Caleb Williams, or try and get Rick May or Caleb Williams.
I mean, you have to win this game. I can't if Denver has to win this game. So ultimately, I'm taking Denver by 3 also. I just don't know how you can lose this game as Sean Payton in this at this point.
Well, especially
But
after you talk so much trash about Paul Hackett being a horrible head coach
right.
and then losing to the Jets. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they don't win that Bears game, where are they at?
Yeah.
Let's see. Chargers at Kansas City. Wes got the Chiefs. I got the Chiefs. Chargers
Yeah.
just didn't look great to me. And Kansas City, it's in Kansas City. So I don't know that Kansas City looks amazing either, but in Kansas City, I think they at least win by a touchdown.
Yeah. And it's Kansas City's defense is playing really well.
Better than you would think, for sure.
So I'm taking Kansas City at home. We'll see if Taylor Swift is there.
Yeah, always helps.
It does. They keep winning. And see if the Chargers quote unquote fan is there also planted somewhere.
Has nothing to do with that Mahomes guy. It's all Taylor Swift. This this is probably the game of the week. And it's on Sunday Night Football. Like the NFL actually did it right this week.
They did do it right.
Miami at Philadelphia. Wes has got Miami. What do you got?
I got to take the Dolphins, man. Not,
At
take the
Philly.
Dolphins until you can't take the Dolphins because, like we've said, the Eagles don't look as good as last year. So we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see how good the Eagles defense is in this game.
And their front seven is so good.
Yeah.
And I think the key to Miami's winning is not their passing game. I think it's their running game. And I really wanted to take Philadelphia here in Philly, but yeah, I still took Miami. But I'll tell you right now, this could go. Philly could win this game.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they could because they're Philadelphia. They're 5-1. They're a good team. Um, it's really hard. But the same thing that happened with Buffalo and Miami.
Right.
You know, I think Philly. I almost want to switch. No, I'm stick with Miami. I'm gonna go with Miami. I need Hill and Mozart to have big fantasy weeks. So let's go with Miami. Even at Philly, God, that's so tough. On a Sunday night at Philly. All right, well, we're all going Miami. Last game, 49ers, Minnesota. I don't think there's much question here.
You're just talking about the NFL doing something right, and then this is our Monday night game.
Yeah. And then, well, Minnesota, or record wise, not this record wise, looked like they were going to be good for this game, but this season they've kind of tanked. So, they made this schedule like months ago.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you can't not pick San Francisco to bounce back here. Wes got San Francisco. I think San Francisco comes back healthy. Debo probably is the most unhealthy of the bunch, but still plays. And they beat him by at least 14.
Yeah, I think the Vikings are done. They're packing it in this season, so I'm taking the Niners too by 14.
Yeah. Even though KJ might be a good fantasy pickup.
Yeah.
So a couple swing games in there. I think Wes had more swing games than any.
Yeah.
So he can really build up a lead here, or he could lose his lead. So we'll see what happens. Interesting week though. A lot of lot of even games, hard to pick games, I think. Like if you come out of this week with, 10 plus wins in your predictions, I think you'd have had a good week
Yeah.
because it's not easy. So, and of course, Raiders Bears.
Be
We
watching that
know
game.
we know that's the game, right? That's we wait years for this to happen. And then of course we got backup quarterbacks playing. Both teams are crappy. At least the Raiders have a chance still. The Bears just done. Uh, but that's part of your rebuild, right? You get two more top five picks.
There you go.
Jeez. Just if they would get rid of their coach. Make me happy. Let's talk fantasy football for a second. Got our picks in, but HSC Podcast Fantasy Football. Tough week for you and Wes
Mm-hmm.
because your team didn't score like it normally scores, and then Wes went up against the 140-point team.
I know. Yeah, I needed this. If I would have won this week, I would have been one game out the playoffs, but now I'm still two.
Oh yeah. Now you're 2-4, but 4-2, 4-2. Team John at 5-1. That won't last, right?
He would have thought, but other people aren't changing theirs, so they
Right.
keep winning.
I guess it's a yeah, and then the Tigers, Jill wins in a real close game there, keeping her at 4-2. And then my sister just missed out on her first win against Team John. What was funny is remember the San Diego touchdown or the Chargers touchdown right at when they tied it up, and Eckler got stopped on the one, then they scored.
Yeah, she would have won if he would have got
So
the
if
touch.
Eckler would have scored, she would have won. That's the way fantasy football goes. You know, you like
I
just
still
rooting for
remember
that.
what was it I forgot what year it was, but you were winning, and then Derrick Henry popped off like a 60-yard touchdown against you.
Mm, yeah, that's
Like on the game was already over, and they just running out the clock. He did that.
yeah. And he busts out for like a 60-yard touchdown.
You lost by like half a point.
Well, I mean, it's normal for me to win the regular season and then lose in the playoffs, which is kind of where we're at right now. I'm 5-1. Scored over 700 points already,
Right.
or 800 points. Sorry. So yeah, that's the way it's gonna go. Players as far as pickups, it's waiver day. I think Donta Foreman, I think from the Bears is a good pickup.
Yeah. Well, I'm. Did he? Because I picked up in my dynasty league one that I was desperate for running backs. I picked up the other one.
Roshan Johnson, yeah.
No, Darrington Evans.
Oh,
Because I think, let me look here. Neither of them did any good, but I think they had about the same amount of carries.
well, I mean Foreman, he scored 10 points or so. He had like 12 carries, couple catches, 8 points.
Yeah, he had 15 for 65, and Evans had 9 for 32.
Yeah. I think he'll see more this week with no Fields. He is the guy they brought in, to carry the ball. So,
Will Roshan be out still?
but
Or
yeah, he's questionable. So if he comes back, I think that's a that's where it becomes tough, right? Because now you've got a more three-headed monster there.
Right.
With no Roshan, I think Foreman could be a flex play. Reynolds at Detroit, obviously with no
Montgomery or Gibbs.
Montgomery or Gibbs, that's a single week play, right? That's just someone you pick up, you drop. So if you don't have anybody you want to drop, you can't do it. As far as wide receivers, I think that's why I said KJ Osborne, I think is a good pickup.
Right.
But they're playing the 49ers, so that's also tough. Curtis Samuel been playing well lately. I think you get some points there, especially against the Giants. Josh Downs. I think, unfortunately, like the Tutu Atwell game's over now that
Mm.
Cooper Cup's back. And then you got Josh Reynolds. Like, you just never know who's
Well,
getting
now with
ball.
Jamison Williams back, that might
Yeah,
be good.
yeah, that probably is done too. But you never know; those guys are hurt all the time.
Yeah.
So not a lot at wide receiver either. Uh Shaheed though, like he's so hit and miss.
Right. Yeah, he's the big play though for
Right, that's what I mean. He can have that 60-yard touchdown, which right there is 13 points.
right.
So that's a tough one too. There's not a lot of good probably free agents out there in the wide receiver game right now because wide receiver is kind of the big pick because you're playing wide receiver at your flex probably 90% of the time.
Right.
So not a lot of great pickups left. So you just look for those injuries or people sitting, whatever it is. Quarterback wise,
Ours is pretty bare. I was just looking at that.
yeah, like who you gonna grab there? It's like a good thing I have Goff on the bench,
Yeah, because I just lost Richardson for the season.
right? Well, and Fields is probably done for at least 3-4 weeks. I mean, even he comes back 2 weeks, he's not 100%.
Right. Yeah, that's my other league. I have Fields and Richardson.
Oh, brutal. Yeah, you're going free agency here.
Yeah.
But I mean, Stafford may be available. Carr, Carr's not a horrible pick. Threw for 300 yards last week, right?
He doesn't throw touchdowns though.
Yeah.
Aiden O'Connell.
Gardner Minshew, Mac Jones always available.
Sam Howell.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, that's tough. So I think when you look at fantasy right now, like outside of injuries, it's hard to find good waiver wire.
Right.
So you just kind of roll with what you got and just hope for the best. But you got a long way to come back.
Yeah. And I'm playing
Who are you playing this week?
Mike.
Well, at least.
Holly's dad.
Oh no, that's not good. His team is scheduled to score a lot of points.
Although I think he's got some buys this week, so that might be nice.
Might help a little. I'm playing Wes. Yeah, his team's looking good too. So that's gonna be a tough game. Yeah, so this is a big week for you.
I know. I have to pull the upset off.
Yeah, you gotta win. You gotta win this one. Getting short time. Yeah, so Mike's schedule. Let's see who he's got.
He's got Derrick Henry and Thielen out.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's got to get out those two. What's his bench look like? Well, he's got Jonathan Taylor on the bench.
I know, huh?
He's got Chris Godwin. Got Najee, Jameson. No, that's Denver Williams. So got some good backups. So that's tough. But I mean, you're scheduled to score 123. So your team's solid.
And that's out without a kicker right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you'd be all right.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Puka Nakua got like 13 targets last week, and he had 29 yards receiving.
Right. Well, I mean, it's going to get less and less too with
Well,
Cup back.
him and Cup both had the same amount of targets. It's just that Cup got all the yards.
Cup
And,
caught the ball and ran for
and that's the thing
yards.
is that's why I lost is Cup caught it with Josh had Cup.
Yeah.
And I had Puka Nakua who didn't catch it. So I got like 3 points and he got like 27.
Right. I saw that. That was tough. Yeah. That's where we're at right now. You gotta make that comeback. But
Yeah.
all right, well, let's wrap it up. Thanks for listening, everybody. That's our week 7 predictions, NFL, week 6 wrap up, talk about college football. Anything you guys want to hear, don't forget to subscribe and leave in the comments. Again, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, appreciate the listens, and we'll see you guys next time.